one, and we are live with Evan Moran. What's up, dude?
What's going on, man? I love the countdown that you do to start every podcast, man. You got to have like that kind of unique shtick, like when you start it. So I like it.
I took that from Rogan himself, where he's like, "And we're live."
So from the best, yeah.
And then I hit him with the first and last name with Evan Moran. And anyway, dude, this is episode 12 of the podcast. This is the Conversations podcast with your host, Nick Werle. Really appreciate you coming on. I know it's been a busy summer, and here we are almost into August, buddy. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is hard to believe, man. I swear to God, it seems like it was just yesterday, right? That like 4th of July happened, and like that's always like the halfway point of summer, and you always feel like, yeah, you're on the back half, and now we're getting into August, the Sunday of summer, you know?
Yeah, dude. For me, it was like June 11th when I was like, okay, it's 90 degrees out, summer's here, COVID is over, or I could see it. I could see the light, right?
Yes.
And, it's been almost 2 months now. So I feel like everyone's kind of cramming everything into these last couple weeks of summer until Labor Day.
Yeah, no, that's the same. Like it's definitely felt like an abnormally busy summer, I think, because of that. A lot of pent up stuff, a lot of things to make up for, but well worth it. Well, I'm happy that we have the opportunity, to be out and about and doing things again, right?
Yeah, for sure, bud. You're from Chicago, right?
Yeah, I grew up in the west suburbs, and then went to Marquette up in Milwaukee, and then moved to Chicago in November 2015. So been in the city for, it'll be just a little over 5.5 years now. Great city, you can back that up, right? And nothing like summertime shy too. Like, we put up with shit weather for 9 months out of the year to get these 3 months. So
yeah. I know that you and I used to kind of meet up in the Loop after work and play basketball, like super fun. And if anyone knows what going to work in the Loop in Chicago is like pre-COVID, you remember that energy that you felt there, right? I know I did. The commute in the morning, getting your coffee, sitting at your desk, like, beginning to start your day. And then kind of like that lunch hour is really, for me, it was like sacred. I'd go outside and I'd almost like meditate, and I would have my Chipotle or my naf or whatever it was. And then I came back to my desk and got more work done, right? Like, I've always been someone that enjoys the grind, going to work and doing the best you can. But that basketball time or working out after work there in the Loop was a big part of what made that day, fruitful for me. Right. And I remember you and I shared some times doing that together, and I almost wanted just like your perspective on your time working there in the Loop, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, no, you got me a little excited just like thinking about all that, because I couldn't agree more, dude. Like, when I first moved to the city, I was still working out in the suburbs, and so I was reverse commuting, and I was working in Elmhurst, and great, lovely burb, right? But yeah, I was not working in a place that had any type of buzz like the city of Chicago has. And when I started at Tyson in 2016, it was just so surreal. Like, even just taking the L, like, I got excited, like being around that many people, like it was just such a cool thing. And I mean, you talked about the lunch hour, just being able to go out, walk around, just, be around so many people. You really do feel that energy. And and then basketball. Yeah, I'm with you too. Like, I think basketball is a passion of both of ours, as a form of working out, physical activity. And I always appreciate you. You always were willing to offer up a guest pass, because I'm not even a member there, or sneaking me in, or at least Brady would help me do that too. And those were always fun. I mean, it's a really nice gym, and again, just like more of that energy that you were alluding to.
For sure, man. I was born in Indiana, so I love to shoot the basketball. I love shooting threes. You're a great shooter, man. So I'm like, if we're gonna have ones and twos, because like most times it's twos and threes, but at that gym, every three is worth double a layup. So I'm like, yo, I got to get Moran in here. If Moran can hit 2 out of 5,
there's one thing I'm good for. It's shooting threes. Yeah, I appreciate it.
You know how it is though, buddy. Like you can't teach someone, you can, but like certain shooters just get it. And like whether it's the release or like knowing when to shoot or like when to cool it, like, you get it. So I've always appreciated playing with you. I kind of drive in and I miss a lot of layups, but I can kick it out to guys like you and you guys fucking drain it. So it's great.
No, absolutely, man. You're an ultimate driving kick guy. I appreciate guys like you that are giving me those open looks. So
yeah. So this is a podcast about motivation, work styles, personal development. So talking more about that energy, right? Like I'm just so interested in just that concept of what gets people motivated. Like what makes you feel when you're on the L, did you live in Lakeview or River North or, Lincoln Park?
Yeah, Lakeview and now Lincoln Park.
Yeah.
And about half and half. Yeah. So
you took the brown line in or the red line or what?
Yeah, I had a funky commute. I would drive to my gym before work, park my car there because it was next to a brown line stop. Then I would take the brown line for 2 stops, transfer to the red line, and then take that to Jackson and transfer at the blue line because that was only 2 blocks away from work. And that I discovered was a combination of making sure I went to the gym after work and also like that was the quickest way via public transportation. So it was a lot. Like, I was, by the time I got to work, I was awake and ready to go.
Yeah.
What I've been doing now is I've been biking to work since I started going back into the office 3 days a week. Basically the week after the 4th. So that's kind of been a different mode of transportation for me. And it's been an adjustment, but I like it. I like that I'm getting a workout with my commute now.
Yeah. So you take your bike from Lincoln Park there to the Loop, the Tyson headquarters.
Yeah. We're our Chicago office is in the West Loop. It's about called a 5 to 6 mile bike ride. So not too taxing. It's about, a little less than a half hour. And no, I really enjoy it overall.
Yeah. There's science behind that too. Like taking a walk 10, 15 minutes to a place where you're going to get more work done. Like it kind of gets your mind thinking and ready about how, you're going to approach those tasks that day. So no surprise that when you're on your bike and you're like, it's interesting, it's different. You're probably still feeling the same thing you did on the L because you're around the hustle, the bustle, you have the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Trying to make sure that like 50 other bikers don't pass me up. I could be a little competitive and nothing worse when someone passes you up. Damn, I gotta set my game up here.
Yeah. So maybe I won't focus so much on that energy, but you and I agree on that. I think my listeners understand what I mean by that. Tell me more about the role there at Tyson. I know that, you do a lot with the supply chain. You've mentioned before that your biggest customers are companies like, Target and Walmart. The world of chicken, dude. I've heard that chicken wings there's like a national shortage or something. Like, it's crazy how much people are eating of chicken,
Yeah, it's like I don't even know if Wingstop is still Thigh Stop now because of that shortage. But yeah, man. So I started Tyson, like I said, in 2016. I started off as a demand planner, and now I actually, as of May, I'm a demand manager now. And basically what my job is to, in one sense, predict how much product we need for our customers on an ongoing basis. And our Chicago office, we primarily pretty much 100% deal with our retail operations. And our headquarters in Arkansas, talking about the chicken and all that, that's our food service operations are mostly handled out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And, retail is basically a grocery store. Food service is anything that's not a grocery store. So literally like the broad spectrum, right? Like it can be anything from restaurants to schools to hospitals, hotels, you name it. That's in the food service world.
Okay.
So on the retail end, yeah, like you mentioned it, Walmart is far and above our biggest retail customer. I think, for the most part, for most businesses, they represent anywhere from 60 to 70% of our business. So it's pretty
Wow.
substantial. It's actually pretty crazy. We really have to prioritize them and make sure that we keep them happy.
Yeah.
And so the business that I handle specifically now is our Jimmy Dean frozen business. So the breakfast sandwiches, breakfast bowls, pancake and sausage on a stick. Those are the things that I provide what we call a forecast for.
Okay.
Again, predicting how much product we need for our customers. And it's very interesting, especially now. We, in terms of when a customer orders, how much we fulfill that order, we call that fill rate. And so our company goal, our company standard is to be at 98.5%. But with COVID and with, some of the labor challenges that a lot of industries are facing, we are not filling customer orders. Like right now, I would say for my business specifically, probably filling roughly 80% of said orders. When you think about that, it's crazy. And so from a supply chain perspective, we basically had to really pivot our business for the last several months to what we call allocating to our customers, which means to provide a specific amount to our customers, and tying back to Walmart, because they are such an important customer, we have to do what we can to provide nearly 100%. And for other customers, it kind of leaves them hanging a little bit. And, if you go to a grocery store, and this is something that like I check up on every time I go to my local Jewel, is just how's the frozen breakfast aisle doing? How's the Jimmy Dean aisle going? And it's a little barren. I'll admit it's you hate to see it, but and honestly, it seems like we're a pretty long ways away from being fully recovered. If these demand trends continue, because the demand is just far outweigh the supply.
Yeah, I actually do think that's really interesting, what it takes to fulfill orders for, probably hundreds of thousands of stores around the US and the world, right? I went to Target recently, and, there's multiple products when you look on the shelves that are just barren. And I know that with COVID, it has completely disrupted supply chains in every industry. But yeah, when one customer is 60 to 80% of your whole business, and I know Tyson's Fortune 500, that's multiple millions of dollars they're paying you guys, and that consumers are eating your product, right? Like, you guys have to fulfill those orders, right? So I understand the gravity of that. I used to work in freight and logistics myself. There's probably so much product going around the country on trucks and in freezer sections all over the country. And, it's pretty remarkable when you think about it.
It really is, man. Like even like taking a step back, like just, the farmers and the ranchers, that are, responsible for literally like the meat and the produce and things like that. It is pretty amazing, the logistical advances that we've made in like the supply chain world. And, no easy feat. And you can see how, with a pandemic, how disruptive something like that can be, and, how it can lead to kind of, what the situation that retailers and even food service to an extent, I think they're experiencing some similar obstacles.
Yeah. So you said your goal is 98%, but you're closer to 80 now. Is that you guys can't possibly get the product manufactured and ready, or you can't get it to on the trucks, or is it more that the ranchers and the poultry farmers can't possibly, produce enough chicken? Where does that supply chain break down?
Yeah, and it's interesting. So I would say, to answer that question, it's primarily due to I think a labor shortage at our production plants, in making the product. It just seems like, again, similar to other industries, we just don't have enough workers.
Mhm.
But I also do think because of COVID, I think the consumer behavior has changed a bit in terms of preferences. And I think we've just been challenged with trying to adapt and, adapt to that increasing demand. And again, for me, I'm still speaking specifically to Jimmy Dean, but I mean, this is capable or applies to a lot of our different businesses. And so I think that's kind of where the challenge is. It's actually interesting because there's a Senate Judiciary meeting today talking about, it was about evaluating America's food supply chain.
Okay.
And it was pretty interesting. I didn't get a chance to listen to all of it, but I think farmers and ranchers were kind of coming to the table and complaining about how there's ample supply on their end, but the price the profit that they're making is either minimal or they're losing money. And they were arguing that companies like Tyson were kind of gouging them a little bit with with basically a monopoly that we have on the business. The stat was that I think 4 companies account for 80% of meat packing, that business. So kind of a separate industry from agriculture specifically. It's kind of like we're not the middleman, but that next step in the supply chain, from farm to table, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so I bring that up because I don't think it's a livestock issue at all. I think it is a combination of labor, and then because of the pandemic, because of the challenges that it seems like there's kind of a pricing war going on, if you will. It's a challenge, and it's above my pay grade to figure out what the solution is, but I do find it interesting.
What it does is it shows you that it's all integrated together, right? Like wages affect ability to get people in the meat packing plant, and if there's 1 less or 2 less people on a line, that affects production, right? And no surprise that all the what would be considered blue collar labor, right? The shortage of supply of people that will do that, it affects you guys. And first of all, I'm not anti anything. I'm pro everything. Like, I think capitalism is good. I think that Tyson being a big company is good. I think that you guys, providing a living for those farmers is good, right? But I do know that there's not so much a monopoly, but there is like a system where farmers do need to produce X amount to retain their partnership with you guys, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if they're required to meet that amount, right, and that affects their ability to make earnings from you guys when you buy their raw product, right? And they can't produce that based on the labor. This is what I'm getting to, where it all adds up, right? It's all an interconnected web.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's a reason why this has basically been going on, just a few months after COVID started, where, those challenges have really just percolated and continued. And it's honestly, it's even getting worse now than it was even just a few months ago.
Yeah. I know that people are eating more and more chicken. Kind of the perception of like white meat is better than red meat.
Right.
I know that you're on the poultry, on the sausage side, but even pork is probably seen better than beef and steak and that kind of thing. Like, so when you say like COVID has shifted customer or consumer preferences, can you tell me what you meant by that?
Yeah, I think so. The perspective I can provide is for breakfast specifically. Like, my perspective was, and I think this is kind of the stance that, some of my cross-functional partners have had, is that, people ate out for breakfast or ate on the go more often before COVID, right? Like, or maybe it was just, just like a bar for work. But now when people were forced to work from home, I think that there was a sort of a shift to where, yeah, because they do have a little bit of extra time on their hands, they're willing to dedicate a little more time to eating their breakfast. And I think that kind of led to, higher demand for our business. And it seems now, it's hard to say, what percent, or at least I don't know the percent of people that have started going back into the office, either in a full-time capacity or a part-time capacity, but it seems like there's been some sort of sticking power, to that, shift.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with people's like just workday, almost like where we started with this, going in for the commute or not commuting.
Yeah,
It changes people's, breakfast, lunch, dinner, 3 square meals a day. The things that our parents and our grandparents did, like that's just not what millennials do. I know I skip breakfast almost every day, and I used to not. I know that I have a smaller lunch and I have a bigger dinner. The idea of slamming a Chipotle bowl, the whole thing at noon is like, that's too many calories. And I used to do that on a regular, right? So the pandemic, I think, taught us a lot about what we need, what is actually, required for our bodies, as opposed to what the man, like the corporate entity that gives you 1 hour for lunch, what you're supposed to do at that time.
Yeah.
So super interesting, man. Kind of wrapping up the Tyson stuff. When you said that you are a demand planner, when are the busiest times of your year? Are you guys planning at a certain time, or are you kind of constantly planning and constantly reevaluating? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say for my role specifically, the busiest time of year. So when I say predicting how much product we need for our customers on an ongoing basis, that ongoing basis is a 27-month horizon. And so, when we kind of do most of our work, we focus on the current fiscal year. But then there comes a point where we have to really start honing in on the next fiscal year. And so, basically starting in March through May, that's when we start really planning, specifically for next fiscal year, and kind of putting, what we call drivers into our forecast, into our plan. And, when I say drivers, that can be, okay, next fiscal year, we're going to try and get X amount more distribution. We hope to get, Target to start taking one of our new, chicken wing items, let's say. We have a driver like that. In terms of media, you might say, okay, you know what, we're going to do this amount more of media. And then a big one is we are going to try launching X amount of new items, what we call innovation. So there's a lot of different drivers and different puts and takes with that. And so, that's kind of where, really planning that, it takes a lot of time and effort. And that's where, it becomes busy from us, because, we had a previous plan for the next fiscal year, but, we're almost just kind of starting from scratch, because, what we worked on the previous fiscal year, it becomes a little outdated pretty quick. And then for it depends on the business. We have some businesses that are very seasonal. So, one of our brands is the Ballpark hot dogs. Hot dogs in general, think about that, right? Pretty constant to minimal business for most of the year. But then once you reach Memorial Day, and then 4th of July, and then Labor Day, those are pretty big hot dog days. So I haven't worked on those businesses specifically, but there's a lot of planning and work that goes into that, especially from what we call a pre-building standpoint, like getting ready, to ship X amount of incremental.
I never really thought of that, like just how many hot dogs are sold a week before 4th of July and, like Memorial Day and stuff.
Yeah, it's wild. It really is. Like, that's something I would have never thought of too. Like, but those are the peak times, at least for me personally, when I'm chowing down on some hot dogs.
On some dogs. Dude, I don't know about you, but I love a Chicago dog, like with the celery salt and the diced tomatoes, diced onion.
Yes.
Poppy seed bun, the super green relish. For anyone listening that hasn't had that, you need to get a Chicago dog, and not one that, has one or two of the items. You need all like 6 or 7 ingredients on there, because it's amazing.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Like growing up, my dad always said, like, you call that running it through the garden, ordering a hot dog and run it through the garden.
Run it through the garden.
Run it through the garden, man. Get all those ingredients popped on there. Man, dude.
Yeah.
Oh man, now I got to go to Portillo's now.
I know, dude. I know. I went to a Sox game recently, and I had an amazing time. Went to Wrigley 2 weeks after that. Also had a great time. Kind of a different scene at both those ballparks, but
sure.
Both unique and fun in their own way,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm curious, like, different, like, just in terms of like purely Cubs Sox, or was like COVID playing an issue, like an impact?
Yeah, so I had never been to a Sox game, so there was the kind of the excitement around that. But in the South Side, like, people are, they live there, and that's their team, and that is like it's more low key in a way. But the ballpark is much nicer than Wrigley, so you get better food, you get nicer facilities. Like the bleachers back there, it's just like, I call it despicable. It's like people are slugging beers, doing the beer snake. Even though there's like security guards, like they don't actually care. They're just kind of there for show. Whereas at Wrigley, you kind of feel like it's the Ricketts, kind of the 1% people are. It's more of like a statement. Oh, I'm a Cubs fan. Like, I'm North Side. Like, it's not quite as genuine, in my opinion. And I think that's in my opinion, because I didn't come from here. I imagine the recent success after the World Series has really made that whole franchise, that whole experience, kind of mainstream, a little watered down. And that's just my perception. I might be wrong on all that, but I see the Cubs as like, like the luxury chocolate, and then the the Sox are like the Hershey's,
No, I like that analogy. Actually, I think that's pretty spot on. Yeah, I mean, I'm a Cubs fan, but yeah, the Ricketts, like the Cubs overall, what's kind of gone down since the World Series, it's been pretty disappointing, like both on and off the field. And yeah. I mean, I feel where you're coming from, because I would agree. Like, I do think Sox Stadium, Comiskey Park, whatever it's called, guaranteed rate, I do think it offers a better in-game experience for sure. Yeah. Wrigley, you do experience, that historical, like, nostalgia feel to it.
Sure. And there's no place in the country that's like Wrigley, that's right nestled in a neighborhood. But the reality is, it's not a neighborhood anymore. All up and down Clark Street, there are 5-story hotels, right? Each one of the rooftops around the outfield are now commercialized to the extent where that ticket costs more than the ticket to go to the game, right? In my opinion, it kind of has lost its charm. My first game was in 2012, and I've seen a change since even 2012, the last 9 years.
Definitely.
So that's just my take. And all you gotta do is follow the money. They're just trying to sell tickets, they're trying to sell their merchandise. And the people around there are in the local economy of the Cubs. But to me, the Sox did provide a better, more wholesome, more genuine experience. And I was just I was blown away by how much fun I had that day.
Good, man. No, I'm glad to hear. I'm actually going to the Sox game Friday too, so I'm excited to go. It'll be my first. I did a rooftop game at Wrigley a few weeks ago, but this will be my first in the ballpark game, since pre-COVID. So I'm excited.
Yeah, cool, man. I know you're a sports guy, Chicago guy. Every person I have on, I ask a specific question. So for you, when it comes to Chicago, what's your favorite Chicago sports franchise?
Oh, the Bears. Yeah, I'm definitely a diehard. I think to a fault. I think those who know me, they're probably just rolling their eyes thinking about how I behave during a game, because I get very, very anxious, always on the edge of my seat kind of thing. Which is unfortunate for them, because we typically don't experience the same amount of success as, like, your Colts have historically done.
Dude, we've only won one Super Bowl. All those years of success, Tom Brady stood in our way to chop us down at the head. I mean, Peyton Manning kind of was his bitch. Whenever it mattered, Brady just came in and kicked our ass. We won one Super Bowl. We happened to beat them that one year, but like, I'm sorry, we don't have a lot to say for ourselves after all those years of success. The Bears, we beat you guys in the Super Bowl, but we lost to the Saints a year later. You guys have had consistent success, but at least you have a history, an amazing history of all those 80s teams and, just an awesome legacy.
Yeah, no, for sure. Fortunately I wasn't old enough to experience the 85 Bears and that, but the thing I would say though, that I really do appreciate about being a fan and living in the city is, I love the camaraderie. I love the social aspect of going out and watching the game, like with your friends, with your family. And then even like just being in a crowd of people, actually, I haven't really been to many Bears games. Me personally, I just prefer going to a good bar to watch. And it's a fun experience. And it's something I look forward to every Sunday. And I would say, during the pandemic specifically, like that's something I was fortunate enough to do. And, I think, from a mental health standpoint, it was nice to have something like that to look forward to every week.
What are your thoughts on Trubisky? Do you think that he's going to be a bartender at Butch McGuire's, or will he be a quarterback?
So I'm what they would call a Trubisky truther. It's a pretty funny story. I don't want to get too sidetracked, but long story short, I was on a ski trip in Lake Tahoe, and I was taking a break from skiing, and then North Carolina, that's where he went to school. They were playing in the college bowl game. I was like, you know what? That's gonna be the Bears' next quarterback. Like I was just, for whatever reason, I was just all on board with him. And then, sure enough, they drafted him. I was stoked about it. I even, for one of the beat writers, they do a weekly Q&A. And I asked, hey, because if you remember, that Trubisky pick came out of nowhere. Like no one saw that coming.
You guys could have had Watson. You could have had Mahomes.
Yeah, good thing we don't have Watson right now, but
at least Watson. Anyway, no one wants Watson at this stage, but it's Trubisky is frustrating because he'll throw the ball like 15 yards over a receiver's head. It's like you're supposed to be a quarterback in the NFL, but then he thinks he can scramble on every play too, and he shows signs that maybe he could be good, but then the last season was rough, man. I mean, and this comes from a guy who. We had Andrew Luck decide he wanted to go read books. So I get the pain.
Side note, I'll never forget when that happened because they were playing the Bears in the preseason and I found out and I was just like, wait, what? I can only imagine as a fan how.
I compare it to setting a date for a wedding and getting up to the wedding date and then walking out the day of the wedding. It's you couldn't help us prepare for this. You really need to do this the day before we it was, and we're still dealing with it 5 years later because the quarterback is the most important position in football, and you build your whole franchise around it. And without a plan for a quarterback, everything else is kind of in flux. Okay. Are we going to tank? Are we going to make are we going to be contenders? Do we keep T.Y. Hilton? Do we not? These guys aren't getting any younger, right? And it's that's a bad example because Ty is, I don't even think he's eligible for an extension or whatever, but it's it was so backbreaking when that happened to our franchise that I know you guys are going through with Trubisky.
Yeah, no, for sure. It is amazing how much the quarterback impacts your franchise and how much it can set you back. And that's, I feel I'm a Trubisky truther, but you could make the argument of if we maybe have had a better quarterback, just how dominant we have been the last 3 years, in 2018 especially, that was the year we made the playoffs. Maybe we don't have to deal with the double doink if we put up more than 14 points against the Eagles. Yeah,
Harky, dude, that was a good team too. Your defense was sick that year.
It was a special defense, man. But I think we only scored 2 touchdowns. That's not enough to win a game.
This is the kind of thing that makes sports fun, though, is like you have your team, ride or die. I mean, people like that are respectable, like you,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh, I like the Lakers and the Yankees and the Patriots. Like, go kill yourself.
No. I like to think that I've tried never to be a bandwagon.
Anyway, dude, I'm with you through the pain. For the NFC, they're one of my favorites. I like the Saints a lot too, believe it or not. They're always fun to watch. We'll see.
It'd be very interesting to see what they're like this year without
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of it, honestly. Like if it'll be a huge step back or like can Jameis or Taysom Hill,
I really believe that the Chiefs were going to beat or find a way to at least keep it competitive versus the Bucks. Maybe it's because they were at home for the Super Bowl, but Tom Brady, like
he's the GOAT, man.
Diced him up like a knife, dude. Just done, like 40-point blowout in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, man. I don't normally I don't gamble all that much, but like I had a few drinks in me for that Super Bowl. Like during halftime, like it was pretty big money for the Chiefs to come back and win. And I was like, you know what? I'm embarrassed to say how much money I put down. It was a lot. I'm like, they're just going to do this like
that night.
Last year. Yeah.
I did not expect them to get blown out. I thought they were going to at least clean it up. And I mean, I think it was like plus 21, plus 24 at one point. And I was like, pound it, hammer it. Like they're going to come back. They're going to cut it. I didn't go money line, but that was a depressing night.
Yeah, that was tough to watch. But
yeah, maybe.
And he's the GOAT, right? Like Brady is the GOAT. Like it's pretty impressive to do that year one of a new team.
Vegas always wins, man. I know that's true, at least with me.
I think ever since that night specifically, I've tried to stay away from Vegas or stop letting them take my money.
Ugh. Yeah. Cool, man. Well, kind of bringing it all full circle. I know that you mentioned you go to the office 3 days a week. So, what does this week look like? How have you decided to, which days do you choose? And then how do you keep yourself motivated to get up and go to the office early versus, getting up and sitting at a computer?
No, absolutely. Like, I think Tuesday. So I'm doing Tuesday through Thursday. I feel like most folks in the office are doing anywhere between Monday and Thursday and taking Friday off. So for me, starting with Friday, for me, it's more, I actually used to not mind going into the office on a Friday. It was always very laid back. Like I feel like I was always able to be pretty productive. But it's the traffic, Friday traffic, especially in the summertime, like it becomes a pain. So it's nice not to have to deal with that. And then as far as Mondays, I used to, before the pandemic, I had the option to work from home 1 day a week, and I always chose Mondays. I always liked that because it always helped me ease into the work week a little bit. And it also like gave me a chance to go to my gym and hoop a little bit, get some shots in during lunch. So I liked that.
Nice.
This, I think my third week doing Tuesday through Thursday. I like going into work from the standpoint of, I definitely am much more productive. I think it's easy for me to get distracted being in my place, like, stepping away from the computer more consistently or more often rather than my work, or like, being like, I'll just go do laundry real quick, or like, sweep the floor, like do some chores in between. I feel like that kind of caught up to me real quick. So I've enjoyed that. And I feel like it's kind of rejuvenated me a little bit.
Well, if you think about it, it's a gift to have Monday at home and Friday at home. I know for me, most of my meetings are Tuesday through Thursday with my work. And if you can stack those days up and then kind of ease into the week on Monday and then head out early on Friday, we really can't ask for much more.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah. I'm the same way. Lucky for that. And then I should mention too, like seeing people in person, like that there's definitely something to that. Like,
Totally. Yeah. I think that there's just a priceless aspect to like the quote unquote water cooler talk. And you just don't get that on Zoom, sitting, on a virtual happy hour and drinking your little, like, whatever you're drinking. It's just
go back to that, man. Yeah.
And it's like, whether I'm drinking this cocktail and laughing or like fake laughing, or I'm working and like doing an Excel sheet, like it's still in front of a fucking computer screen. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
so I don't want to hear this whole like, oh, people are just as happy. Maybe they're as happy with their family, but I don't think that their work
Yeah.
lives are as integrated and as fulfilling as they used to be when they went to the office. So I'm
Yeah.
with you. I like the office. I think I'm privileged to be able to say that I can go to the office or I can work from home. Not everyone can do that, but I recognize that if you really go to the office and you use it as like almost like library time back in school, like you get
Yeah.
your work done, like you can really maximize your out of the office time on the weekends too, and on Monday. Like
Yeah.
there's
No,
a
I
benefit
can
to
agree.
doing it.
It's actually a pretty good analogy because I feel like my freshman year, like I don't think I went to the library. I think I couldn't have gone to the library more than like 5 times. But then like the rest of college, I'm like, okay, that's not a long-term solution for success. So like
Yeah,
that's kind of how it felt like working from home. Like,
yeah, I'm with you.
I think kind of the hybrid approach we're doing right now, I think is a pretty fair compromise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Cool, man. I really appreciate you coming on. Really good
Yeah.
friend of mine, Evan Moran. Thank you so much for all your inputs and talking more about Tyson and sports and everything, man. Awesome to have you as a friend, and hopefully we can chop it up more in person soon. All right.
Yeah, man. Appreciate the conversation, and yeah, best of luck and with the pod. And yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Really enjoyed the conversation.
For sure, bud. All right. Have a good rest of the night and see you later.
All right, man. Take care.
Bye.